Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Follows the format of the county.
Is that the copy?
Yes.
All right, we're live, guys. I'd like to call to order our emergency city council meeting. The date is August 7th and the time is 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mayor Ronnie Felder, Chairperson Douglas Lawson,
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Roderick McCoy, Councilperson Kashamba Miller Anderson,
Present.
Councilperson Shirley Lanier, Councilperson Glenn Spiritus,
Here.
City Manager Jonathan Evans,
Present.
Acting City Clerk Deborah Hall McCullough is present, City Attorney Don Wynn.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum, you may proceed.
Thank you. Have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice Chair Pro Tem McCoy. Let's go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Disclosures by the board. Additions, deletions, substitutions.
None from staff, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Motion to adopt.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made and properly seconded. Roll call.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Chair Pro Tem McCoy,
Yes.
Chairperson Miller Anderson. I'm sorry, Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson Spiritus,
Yes.
Chair Lawson,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Thank you. No items on consents. Regular agenda, resolution.
Mr. Chair. We are on resolutions on regular agenda item 1A, Hurricane Milton declaring a local state of emergency. Mr. Chair, we do not have any public comment cards on this item. The acceptance of the cards is now closed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair and members of the board, staff is recommending adoption of resolution number 119-24. This is the resolution that facilitates the emergency authorities to be able to prepare our community for Hurricane Milton. I have the incident commander, Fire Chief John Kerr, to give an operational update as well as a storm update briefly to be able to provide the community as well as the city council with an update with regards to the conditions.
Mr. Chair, please let the record reflect that Mayor Ronnie Felder is present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Mr. Evans. We've been monitoring what is now Category 5 Hurricane Milton. In the last 24 hours, we've seen a tropical storm go to a Cat 5 hurricane. While I am optimistic that we will not bear the wrath of the storm, there still are several considerations and safety measures that I think that we need to put in place for our community. This is going to be a very wet storm. We have a system that we're dealing with right now, which is a tropical low moving across the peninsula, and then that's going to be followed by Hurricane Milton. It is our recommendation that we approve this declaration for a local state of emergency so we can continue with our ongoing efforts to ensure that our community has all the resources they need to prepare for, allow the city to respond to, and eventually recover from the effects of Hurricane Milton.
Thank you, Chief. And real quick, Walter, I just got a message saying that there's no sound online. If you could just double check that, please, Walt. Thank you, Chief. Questions from the board? Councilman McCoy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. So I noticed in the resolution it has today's date of October 7th, that the effective date and time being 6:30 p.m. of the local state of emergency. If I'm not mistaken, was the incident team doing work yesterday? Did they already begin convening and having preliminary discussions? Because I know certainly, obviously, there's already been deploying of certain sandbags and other measures to assist. Would that create a problem? Are we able to recover those costs that were already expended, being that we have an effective date of today at 6:30 p.m.?
Mr. Chair, if I may,
You're recognized.
Any expenditures associated with the hurricane would be reimbursable after the declaration. So there was staff conversations, meetings that occurred to be able to spin up respective operations, but there was no actual physical assets that were required to be able to prepare for the storm. Most of those expenditures are in fact going to happen today and into early part tomorrow. So those costs that occurred before that would not be reimbursable.
Follow.
You're recognized.
So are we not to retro or, I guess, go back previously?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Recognized.
It wouldn't be my recommendation. It wouldn't facilitate having to go back because it was staff time that was utilized to be able to prepare for the activities that you saw today.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So just to follow up on that, was there additional cost of sand and the equipment that we used? Because I know we had staff time today, but we were actually just bagging for residents just now. So is that not able to be reimbursed as well?
Mr. Chair, if I
You're
may.
recognized.
Some of those costs would be reimbursable, but those costs at this particular moment are de minimis. Those costs are, costs that can be absorbed by your respective operational budget. And also, these costs would be reimbursable through FEMA and would probably take 2 to 3 years for the city to receive those funds back. And so there's no major expenditure costs at this particular moment. And so it would be my recommendation to adopt the resolution as provided for.
Additional questions from the board? Public comments, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we do not have any public comments for this item.
Thank you. Ms. Miller Anderson, any questions?
No, I do not have any.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. Madam Clerk, roll call.
We need a motion and second for this item, please.
Move to approve.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Madam Clerk?
Chair Pro Tem McCoy,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson Spiritus, Chairperson Lawson,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Thank you. Discussion, Ms. Evans?
Mr. Chair, obviously, city staff has been working diligently to be able to prepare for Hurricane Milton. So there's a lot of operational updates that you will be receiving from myself, as well as the emergency operation team. Also, we will be putting out a lot of information on social media specifically, and we've seen great success in our sandbagging operations. And so that will start again tomorrow, I believe at 7 a.m. and then conclude around 4:30. But that can conclude if we do in fact run out of sand. So we'll keep the community abreast of that. We do provide for 5 bags that we will bag, and then there will be a self-service option, but we will have staff there to be able to accommodate and help any of our seniors. City staff has been out looking at some of our stormwater drains, canvassing the community. One of the directives that came from the operational team is that we wanted to put at least multiple city vehicles on every street. So if you do go on to our website on rivierbeach.org, you will see a banner that says Hurricane Milton. That is our Q alert system. If you do put any inquiries or any questions or any problems in that particular system, that goes right to the incident command team and we can dispatch the resources accordingly. Also, the city's main line at 5 o'clock today switched over to our call service. So we will have somebody answering the call 24 hours a day. So if there are things that you see throughout the evening in the community, you can put those into, and that also will go to the emergency operation team for us to dispatch resources when appropriate. We're going to continue to monitor this. The biggest challenge that we have is the saturation of the ground. We're going to have rain throughout. This is not even rain associated with the hurricane. So we are going to anticipate trees down, limbs down. And so we'll be able to provide the community as well as the board a little bit more operational details about strike teams and who's going to be able to respond throughout the event. But we anticipate most of the inclement weather to be on Wednesday. There will be a situation whereby probably your non-essential personnel will not be working on Wednesday. But, this storm is slowing down and gaining in intensity. So depending on what we get from our emergency operational partners, will be able to provide a more concrete update probably in the next couple of hours.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
And correction, the sand was from 7 to 3 tomorrow morning. From 7 a.m. to 3 o'clock, the sand will be,
I may interject just really quickly. It'll be 7:30 a.m. until the sand lasts. Based on the turnout that we've seen this evening, Gone through 39 cubic yards of sand. We're having another delivery scheduled for tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. and the line will open at 7:30 for our residents to obtain sandbags. And just as a note, as if our community is listening, we have not heard anything from Palm Beach County as it relates to the opening of any shelters. So we just want to make sure that that's clear and understood by our residents, so they're taking the appropriate actions to prepare to hunker down at home. While we're not going to see again the wrath of the storm, there's going to be some periods of gusty wind and torrential rains. So we ask everybody, if you can stay home, please do so.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Evans, I'm sorry, Councilman McCoy, recognized.
Thank you. Mr. Evans or Chief Kerr, does any of you gentlemen have the information to have folks to sign up for our alert system? Isn't there some sort of code that they can text or something?
Yes, there is a code red. I will be able to pull that up, but we'll make sure that there's a crawl on channel 18 for people that they can text in and get real-time alerts with regards to what are some of the operational things that are occurring associated with Hurricane Milton.
Chair.
You recognize Dr. Spiriters.
Mr. Manager, Singer Island obviously is very vulnerable from two sides, from the ocean and from the intracoastal. Also, Lakeview Park has some very weak areas at the butt ends of their streets. Has there been any consideration? Are we doing anything to beef those areas up?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
You recognize.
That's some of the things that the operational team is looking at. We have some low-lying areas and we have some problem areas that we are historically aware of. And so those are things where we're looking at some of our stormwater infrastructure to see if there's some things that we can do to clean out that infrastructure to be able to prepare for what we can anticipate being a prolonged rain event. So we will have vehicles and be able to address what we can address to be able to mitigate any damage to our residents or any property in those problem and low-lying areas.
Chair.
You recognize.
Okay, so along the walkway on Singer Island on North Ocean, during king tides, we know that there are certain areas that get water over them on a regular basis when we have those king tides. I assume the same thing is going to happen. So our staff is going to try and take care of those areas, do something with those areas, sandbagging or whatever.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
You recognize.
Our operational team will look to address that with the appropriate resources that we have. So if it is sandbags or other areas that we can place devices to address the water or rain conditions, we'll look to do that. That's something that I'll talk to the chief in engineering about to be able to facilitate that.
And Mr. Evans, if I may add to that, one of the things we can rest assured, Mr. Spiritus, is because the storm's approaching from the west, we have no storm surge warnings or expectations of storm surge. And actually, this time of the month is actually one of the lowest high tides we will see. So we're extremely confident unless this storm does. There's always the unknown, right? But we've been monitoring that. There are no warnings, there are no watches in effect, and there is no expectation of a storm surge associated with this storm on the East Coast.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hope you're correct.
I hope so too.
And a quick follow-up to that, will there be any trash pickup on Wednesday?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
You recognize.
At this particular moment, all services are continue as is, but we can anticipate that we will receive information from the Solid Waste Authority that they probably will shut down the landfill. And if they do shut down the landfill, then invariably services will be impacted. But that's some of the information that we'll get over the next couple of hours. But right now, all services remain as is because the storm is wobbling more to the north. And so it may be a situation where it's just a wind and rain event for us, but we are collecting all trash, waste, and debris at this particular moment, and even collecting some non-conforming piles just to get some of that stuff out of the way and off the streets to not impact any of our drainage systems.
Okay, and once we do know, if we can just get that noticed at all platforms, Channel 18, Facebook, social media.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
You recognize.
Yes, and that definitely will be disseminated through those channels as well as through our code red system if there is an impact associated with solid waste services.
Thanks, sir. Attorney Nguyen?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Comments from the board, starting with Kashamba Miller-Anderson.
I don't have any.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Dr. Spitters?
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman McCoy?
Yes, just briefly, thank you, Mr. Evans and Chief Curry. Certainly, I got to give thanks to all of the crews that we have out working that's actually trying to make it possible that we keep our residents safe. This is a massive storm, and I am too optimistic that we don't get the grunt of it. But for our residents, we should certainly be vigilant in making sure that we're um, aware of what's going on and monitoring this because I can remember 2004. Actually, I was in Tallahassee and I came down here for something, and then seemingly I got to Palm Beach, and then the storm was here, and then I called myself going back to Tallahassee, and then I ran right into another storm. So I mean, there is so much that can happen. I mean, let's just let's certainly pray for our neighbors over on the West Coast and throughout Central Florida. And certainly, if there's some neighbors that needs help, I'm available to try to offer whatever I can. I know the mayor had um, some resources in the past that help with deploying shutters. Hopefully we don't need it, but if at all, there's something that my office can be available for. I can be reached at 561-845-3686, but certainly leave a name and a telephone number because I get messages with no telephone number. And if not, I'm able to do it. I certainly try to connect with someone that can deploy whatever resources. Now, we can't come out and do your roof. We may be able to try to offer some resources. I know certainly there is, not any shelters open as of yet, and we've not gotten to that. So let's kind of be hopeful. But if things change, I certainly would encourage everyone to be alert and pay attention to local news as well as to the various platforms that the city has to get information out. So that's where I'm at. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Pro Tem. Mayor Feller?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I echo the sentiments of Councilman McCoy. And just to the residents and our staff, man, be safe. Again, like you said, if you need us, call us. We're here for you.
Thank you, Mayor. And same thing I say, ditto with all of them. Let's just stay safe, everyone. And any support that you need, reach out to anyone with the city, and we'll be here to support you. With no further business, meeting's adjourned.